Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Walaikum assalam.
Dear learners, I welcome you all connected with my virtual class. I hope everyone is well, safe and sound, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic situation. Hopefully, you will try to stay on my whole session attentive. This is my details. I'm Muahhidul Huq, Coordinator BB Bangla Program, Bangladesh Open University, Government City College Tutorial Center, Chattogram. My contact details just on the screen. Email ID muahhidulhuq@yahoo.com. Cell phone 015535187071. Course title Business Ethics. Course code 7332, semester 191, 7th level. Today's topic for discussion: social responsibility of business, SRB. Another terminology, corporate social responsibility, CSR. Today's session's objectives or outcomes: concept of CSR or SRB, definition of CSR, arguments for and against CSR, need for the CSR, social responsibility towards different groups, types of CSR, the economic model for the social responsibility, legal measures for social responsibility, the community expectations from and to the business, focus of change of dimensions, government business influences, managing social responsibility, green management and sustainability. We see today's arrangement is huge arrangement. There are different facets or phase of CSR. I'd like to try my level best to cover maximum of the topic. What is social responsibility? Social responsibility is a business intention beyond its legal and economic obligations to do the right things and act in ways that are good for society. Definitions of CSR: corporate social responsibility is the continuing commitment by business to behave ethically and contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workplace and their families, as well as of the local community and society at large. And definition of social responsibility. Social responsibility is the obligation of the decision makers to take actions which protect and improve the welfare of the society as a whole, along with their own interests. Howard R. Bowen. Social responsibility of business has responsibility to the customer, workers, shareholders, and the community. Then arguments for social responsibility. There are some arguments for performing social responsibility. Start with public expectations. Public opinion now supports businesses pursuing economic and social goals. Long run profits. Socially responsible companies tend to have more secure long run profits. Ethical obligation. Business should be socially responsible because responsible action are the right thing to do. Public image. Businesses can create a favorable public image by pursuing social goals. Better environment. Business involvement can help solve difficult social problems. Discouragement of further governmental regulation. By becoming socially responsible, businesses can expect less government regulation. Balance of responsibility and power. Businesses have a lot of power and equally large amount of responsibility is needed to balance against that power. Shareholder interests. Social responsibility will improve a business stock price in the long run. Possession of resources. Business have the resources to support public and charitable projects that need assistance. Superiority of prevention over cures. Business should address social problems before they become serious and costly to correct. Now, arguments against social responsibility. There are some arguments against social responsibility. These are violation of profit maximization, dilution of purpose, cost, too much power, lack of skills, and lack of accountability. Start with violation of profit maximization. Business is being socially responsible only when it pursues its economic interests. Dilution of purpose. Pursuing social goals dilutes business's primary purpose, economic productivity. Costs. Many social responsible actions don't cover their costs, and someone must pay those costs. too much power. Businesses have a lot of power already, and if they pursue social goals, they will have even more. Lack of skills. Business leaders lack the necessary skills to address social issues. Lack of accountability. There are no direct lines of accountability for social actions. Need for the social responsibility of business. Impact of its own operations. Long life of business, employee satisfaction, fair pricing, and market dynamics, demand and supply of goods and services, taxation and compliances towards government, financial support to social and cultural activities, support to social causes like poverty, education, healthcare, environment renewal, energies, etc. Now, like to discuss social responsibilities towards different groups. There are some responsibilities towards stakeholders. The stakeholders are the person or persons who directly or indirectly influence the day-to-day affairs, day-to-day activities, and decision-making of any business concern. Responsibilities towards the stakeholders, say owners, employees or workers, consumers, customers, community, society, or public, investor or shareholders, and to the government. Responsibilities toward owners. There are some responsibilities to be performed to the owners. These are profit maximization, exploit business opportunities, expansion and diversification, careful use of capital, optimum use of resources, fair practice on stock exchange, business efficiency, periodic information, and creating confidence, efficient use of shareholders' fund, and creating goodwill for the owners. Dear learners, now I'd like to discuss responsibilities towards employees or workers. These are harmonious employer-employee relation, job security, promotion and career opportunity, division of labor, and recognition to trade unions, good working conditions, protect health, and provide safety measures. Are you hearing? Oh, okay. Fair,
Yes.
okay. Fair remuneration and allowances, proper personal policies, education training, code of conduct, and proper grievance procedures. Workers' participation in management, opportunities for development. Now, responsibility goes to the consumer or customers. There are huge responsibilities towards customers or consumers. These are supply as per demand, charging fair price, honest advertisement or advertisement ethics, after sales service, reply to complaints or customer service cell, good quality products and services, avoid monopolistic competition, avoid unethical trade practices, consumer safety, accurate information, consumer welfare. These are the responsibility to perform towards customers or consumers. Then responsibility go to community, society or public. There are huge obligations for the communities, society, public as a whole. These are social and cultural activities, location of industries, rehabilitation, development of backward area or locality, financial assistance, protect anti-social activities, address social problem or avoid class conflict, help during natural calamities. Like this pandemic situation, there use corporate social responsibility to perform. Proper use of economic power, providing employment opportunities, provide employment and raise standard of living. There are some responsibilities towards investor or shareholders. These are return on investment, stability, information, proper disclosure, full and factual information, proper conduct of shareholders meetings, good public image, manipulation of share prices, maintain transparency, handling grievances, maintain solvency and prestige. And finally, responsibilities towards the government. There are some responsibility to perform to the government as well. These are observance of law and order, guidelines of the government, payment of taxes, avoid unethical practices, foreign exchange, advice to government, help in emergencies. Now we see different from different corners, from different business person, the business magnates are extending their hands to cooperate government in this pandemic COVID-19 situation. Then extend cooperation as well, respecting rules and regulations, political stability to be maintained, implementation of socioeconomic programs. Dear learners, now the types of social responsibility: philanthropic, be a good corporate citizen; ethical, be ethical; legal, we have to obey the law; and economic responsibilities, be profitable as well as performing service, social responsibilities and providing services. Corporate social responsibilities model may be classified into two categories: classical economic model and socioeconomic model. First of all, the classical economic model. Adam Smith, father of the classical economic model, believed that an invisible hand promoted the public welfare. He believed that the public interest was served best by individuals pursuing their own self-interests. The socioeconomic model, according to socioeconomic model, business is seen as one subsystem among many in a highly interdependent society, recognizes that companies have stakeholders other than their stockholders. A stakeholder audit allows companies to systematically identify all parties that could possibly be impacted by the company's performance. Business has an obligation to respond to the needs of all stakeholders while pursuing its profit. Now, the economic model for social responsibility just elaborately try to deliver. The concept of corporate social responsibility grows out of the change from the predominantly economic model of business towards a broader socioeconomic model. These are delivered by Kit Davis and others, and it is. It places primary emphasis on production, individual interest, exploitation of resources, just a minor role for the government. A general view of the business in a closed system. The socioeconomic model, it emphasizes on the overall quality of life, community interest, conservation of resources, active government involvement, and an open system view of business. According to Carol Levy, 1979, and notes the four types of expectations that the society has of business. Economic, must be effective in producing goods and services. Legal, business should fulfill its economic mission within the framework of the legal requirements. Ethical, fairness to customers and employees and honesty in its dealings are ethical responsibilities. These are depicted in a chart. Total social responsibilities, discretionary responsibilities, ethical responsibilities, legal responsibilities, economic responsibilities governed by market forces. And discretionary areas in which society desires business to assume some social responsibility, providing training programs for the hardcore unemployed, supporting community philanthropic programs, helping to prevent and correct environmental degradation, supporting urban renewals. Dear learners, now I'd like to discuss legal measures for social responsibility. Identifying the overemphasis of business fraud, profit, ignoring reasonable claims of the stakeholder, government from time to time enacting a number of acts, ordinances, etc. formulated legal framework in order to ensure reasonable amount of social responsibility of business. Some of the examples of such legal enactments are the following. Number one, laws which place a floor under wages and a ceiling over the hours worked per week. Number two, the Social Security Act and Medicare. Three, laws that require management to bargain with its employee on wages and hours. Four, the Civil Rights Act. Five, the Manpower Development and Training Act. Six, workers' compensation. Seven, safety device requirements. Eight, product labeling and packaging. Child Protection Act. Number 10, Automobile Information Disclosure Act. Number 11, Food and Cosmetics Act, Fair Credit Reporting Act, Flammable Fabric, Trade Commission Act, Environmental Protection Act, and Energy and Power Generatory Act, Rivers and Harbors Act, Oil Pollution Act, Water Pollution and Quality Act, and Clean Water Restoration Act. Now, I'd like to discuss the community expectation from and to the business. Community is relatively of narrower coverage compared to society. As such, there are some interactions of expectations between the community and the business. This may be gauged as under community expectation from business. Number one, support of air and water pollution control, service responsibility for products sold to local consumers. Two, support of artistic and cultural activities. Three, employment and advancement for minorities and women. Expectations from the community. Number one, educate public services such as police and fire protection, CRS, water and electric services. Number two, fair and open public press, a cultural educational environment which supports a balanced quality of life for employees. Share on this. Dear learners, do you hear me? Dear learners, are you here?
So we are hearing you.
Okay, I already just shared some link. Okay,
Yes, sir.
the community expectation from and to the business.
Yes.
Okay. Number three, cultural education environment which supports balanced quality of life for the employees. Then, and number four, community expectation from business. Number 4 point, assistance in urban planning and development. 5, assistance for handicapped and other disadvantaged persons. support of local healthcare program, donation of equipment to local school system, support of local bond issues for public improvement, aid to community hospital drive, support of local programs for recycling to conserve scarce resources and prevent pollution, execute and for local united fund company participation in Get Out the Vote campaign, and a business expectation from the community. Number 4, taxes which are equitable and don't discriminate for or against business. Number 5, open acceptance of business participation in community affairs. Number 6, and educate transportation system to business areas, for example, streets and public transportation. And number 7, public officials, customers, citizens who are fair and honest in their involvement with the organization. Now, I'd like to discuss the focus of change of dimensions. Here, 4 columns, dimension of behavior, is 3 stages, just split it into 3 stages: social obligation, social responsibility, and social responsiveness. Number 1 point, response to social pressures. Social obligation maintains low public profile, but it uses PR methods to upgrade its public image, denies any deficiencies, blame public dissatisfaction on ignorance or failure to understand corporate functions, discloses information only where legally required. Social responsibility, accept responsibility for solving current problems, will admit deficiencies in former practices and attempt to persuade public that its current practices meet social norms, attitude toward critics, conciliatory, freer information disclosures than stage 1. And then social responsiveness, willingly discusses activities with outside groups, makes information freely available to public, accepts formal and informal input from outside groups. In decision making, is willing to be publicly evaluated for its various activities. Philanthropy. Contributes only when direct benefit to it clearly shown, otherwise views contributions as responsible individual employees. Social responsibility contributes to non-controversial and established causes, matches employee contributions. And responsiveness activates of stage 2. Now, I'd like to discuss government business influences. Business requires government sanction to operate business. On the other hand, government also requires the business establishment to execute its policies for public welfare. Mutual expectation of both the government and business can be seen. Now, we see a chart depicting the government business influences. Business influences the government through personal contracts, networks, lobbying, political action committees, favors, and other influence tactics. And government, side by side, the government influences business through environment protection legislation, consumer protection legislation, employee protection legislation, securities legislation, and the tax codes. Now, I would like to discuss how to manage social responsibility or managing social responsibility. The demands for social responsibility placed on contemporary organizations by an increasingly sophisticated and educated public are probably stronger than ever. As we have seen, there are pitfalls or problems or limitations for managers who fail to adhere to high ethical standards, and for companies that try to circumvent their legal obligations. Organizations therefore need to fashion an approach to social responsibility the same way that they develop any other business strategy. That is, they should view social responsibility as a major challenge that requires careful planning, decision making, consideration, and evaluation. They may accomplish this through both formal and informal dimensions of managing social responsibility. First of all, formal organizational dimensions. Some dimensions of managing social responsibility are a formal and planned activity on the part of the organization. Formal organizational dimensions that can help manage social responsibility are legal compliance, ethical compliance, and philanthropic giving. Legal compliance is the extent to which organization conforms to local, state, central, and international laws. The task of managing legal compliance is generally assigned to the appropriate functional manager. For example, the organization's top human resource executive is generally responsible for ensuring compliance with regulations, concurring recruiting, selection, pay, and so forth. Likewise, the top finance executive generally oversees compliance with securities and banking regulations. The organization's legal department is also likely to contribute to this effort by providing general oversight and answering queries managers might have concerning the appropriate interpretation of laws and regulations. Ethical compliance, it is the extent to which the members of the organization follow basic ethical and legal standards of behavior. We noted earlier that organizations have increased their activities in this area, providing training in ethics and developing guidelines and codes of conduct. For example, these activities serve as vehicles for enhancing ethical compliance. Many organizations also establish formal ethics committees, which may be asked to review proposals for new projects, help evaluate new hiring strategies, or assess a new environmental protection plan. They might also serve as a peer review panel to evaluate alleged ethical misconduct by an employee. Finally, philanthropic giving is the awarding of funds or gifts to charities or other social programs. Dayton Hudson Corporation routinely gives 5% of its taxable income to charity and social programs. Giving across national boundaries is also becoming more common. For example, Alcoa recently gave and Mitsubishi have started. For example, Alcoa recently gave Taka 1,20,000, 1,12,000 to a small town in Brazil to build a sewage treatment plant. And Japanese firms like Sony and Mitsubishi have started making contributions to a number of social programs in the United States. Unfortunately, in this age of cutback, many corporations have also had to limit their charitable gifts over the past several years as they continue to trim their own budgets. For example, Atlantic Richfield companies corporate giving has decreased by 25% over the last 10 years. Firms that do engage in philanthropic giving usually have a committee of top executives who review requests for grants and decide how much and to whom money will be allocated. And then informal organizational dimensions. In addition to these formal dimensions for managing social responsibility, there are also informal ones. Two of the more effective ways to clarify the organization's approach are to provide appropriate leadership and culture and allow for whistleblowing. Organization leadership and culture. Leadership practices and an organization culture can go a long way toward defining the social responsibility stance an organization its members will adopt. For example, Johnson & Johnson executives for years provide a consistent message to the employees that customers, employees, communities where the company did business and shareholders were all important and primarily in that order. Thus, when packages of poisoned Tylenol shows showed up on store shelves in the 1980s, Johnson & Johnson employees didn't need to wait for orders from headquarters to know what to do. They immediately pulled all packages from shelves before any other customers could buy them. By contrast, the message sent to beach-nut employees by the actions of their tip managers communicate much less regard for responsibility. And whistleblowing. Whistleblowing is the disclosure by an employee of illegal or unethical conduct on the part of others within the organizations. How an organization responds to this practice often indicates its stance toward social responsibility. Whistleblowers may have to proceed through a number of channels to be heard, and they even get fired for their effort. Many organizations, however, welcome their contributions. A person who observes questionable behavior typically first reports the incident to his or her boss. If nothing is done, the whistleblower may then inform higher level managers or an ethics committee. If one exists, eventually the person may have to go to a regulatory agency or even the media to be heard. For example, the apple juice scandal at Beechnut started with a whistleblower. A manager in the firm's research and development department began to suspect that its apple juice was not 100% pure. His boss, however, was unsympathetic, and when the manager went to the president of the company, he too turned a deaf ear. Eventually, the manager took his message to the media, which publicized the incident. This eventually led to a criminal investigation. Now, green management and sustainability. In green management, managers consider the impact of their organization on the nature environment.